right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 2022 Digible Summit's GA4 Roadmap and Recommendations. I'm Katie, Senior Account Manager here at Digible, and I'm joined by Tammy, our SEO strategist, and Megan, our Digital Strategy Lead. Today, we're going to talk about what we've learned regarding the changes happening with Google Analytics, and we're also going to talk about what we are most looking forward to. We have been really lucky in recent weeks. We've been hosting weekly meetings with representatives and technicians at Google, and they've been very generous in answering our questions, providing some valuable insights to us, and we will definitely touch on those in the coming half an hour. I know that this is a very hot topic, and we would love questions to come through the chat. We're going to hold those for the end, but we'll do our best to answer them. With all of our extensive conversations we've been having, there were even some questions that could not be answered by the Google team. So we will just be really transparent when those topics come up and do our best to answer the ones that we can. Okay, get this here. All right, so it's been a long time since we digital marketers have found ourselves floundering like fledglings in the Google Analytics space. So we're going to start off today in our presentation like the spring chickens that we are and address what is changing, why those things are important, all with the goal of framing these GA4 changes as easily attainable and approachable for everyone, no matter what your experience with analytics has been in the past. First and foremost, hold on, let me get my presentation here. Okay, so first and foremost, GA4 should be thought of as a system upgrade. It's a revamp of the same platform we all know and love. It pledges to be the future of analytics with advanced cross-platform tracking, AI-driven data, and a privacy-centric strategy. GA4 is a brand new product that's full of so many goodies. Previous platform upgrades pale in comparison. The roadmap, let's see. Okay, so the roadmap of Google Analytics started way back in 2005, long before a significant portion of our team here at Digible was in the working world, but it has been around for a while.
I think you had mentioned, does anybody remember Urchin? And I was like, sadly, I do.
And shortly after that 2005 Urchin, the iPhone was introduced in 2007. The next big milestone was in 2015 when mobile queries outdistanced desktop queries. That was a huge shift for us marketers. And in the coming year, we're going to see even more changes. The sunsetting of universal analytics, we all know that's coming in July of next year. But looking beyond that, 6 months later, we're going to start seeing the sunsetting or the cookie deprecation of Google products is going to phase in.
I think that's where most people are most nervous, is getting rid of those cookies.
Yeah, so we got to get the GA4 thing down before we can even think about what comes after that. But yes. Okay. So why are things changing?
So why is it important? As the industry changes with privacy restrictions, there is a limit on the data that we can receive. So GA4 implements machine learning and data modeling to gain more reliable data measurement in this privacy-centric world. So GA4 is really future-proofing for upcoming privacy restrictions, such as browser restrictions on the use of cookies and personal data regulations. So the bottom line is it's future-proofing for privacy, the privacy-centric world. It's future consented, it's modeled, and it's first party. So it's really preparing for what's to come.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting. A couple of the things that stood out to me in terms of like I guess the standout features is going to solve a big question that's been in my mind as a digital marketer over many years, and that's the single unit user journey. So for example, I'm just going to skip ahead to my next slide here and then I'll bounce back. But here's a great layout of what the GA4 user journey is going to look like on the analytics side compared to what we're used to with universal analytics. So let's say, a user is seeing your ad for the first time on his mobile device on the train on his way into work. Well, that's going to count as a paid impression. But let's say he waits till he gets home that night, gets on his personal desktop, does an organic search for your brand, and goes to the website and converts. Well, we don't see that connection there between, organic traffic and paid dollars. And what we're really excited for, which we will talk more about coming up, is that those things are going to be connected, and you're going to see user deduplication, which is another feature of that. So there's a lot of really exciting things happening in terms of the user journey that is going to directly connect us to the questions about attribution that we've had over the years. Let me just bounce back up here. So how are they going to do that? Well, they're going to use three different things, three different categories, and that's going to be the user ID, the Google signals, and device IDs. So in the scenario where we might not have all three, they will compile the data they have from the other two, and those variations will exist. But Google will use some of the other tools we'll talk about coming up here in a second to fill in all of those gaps for us. Okay, so conversion modeling.
Conversion modeling. So this first paragraph here is a bit technical in terms of how modeling can work. It's data modeling is really compensating for the absence of signals by using models that are trained on observable data. That's still kind of confusing. So what that means is that when there is enough reliable data in your GA4 account, Google can start learning behaviors and modeling data in places where you would normally lose that insight due to privacy restrictions.
Awesome. Do you have a couple of examples? Might
We
help us
sure
do
do.
that? Awesome.
So modeling can fill in the gaps when we have some examples here. This is not all encompassing, but a few situations we might run into, such as when browsers don't allow conversions to be measured with third-party cookies, potentially when browsers limit the time window for first-party cookies. We all know Apple's app tracking transparency policy. And then lastly, when conversions happen on different devices.
Wow, cool.
So really the key takeaways from modeling are that we can recover conversions that otherwise would not have been measured. We can improve bidding optimizations through better data, and we are still privacy safe with hashing of first-party customer data.
Awesome.
Right.
So let's do a comparison, shall
Yeah,
we?
yeah.
Shall we
So
talk
this is the
about-
nitty gritty. This is
Yeah.
where we're going to break it down.
Okay, fun
Yeah.
stuff. So let us compare.
Okay. All right.
All right, let's take a high look. Let's do high level overview first, and we're going to just kind of see the differences here. The main differences, there's three. So we've got measurement. Universal Analytics, it was session-based, or is currently, since it's still around for a little while. And it is going to present you with all of your information based upon a time session. So 1 week, 1 day, 6 months, whatever you choose, and then it's going to show your metrics based on that time session. Whereas GA4 takes it away from the time-based, still time-based when you look things up, but it's going to start with the event first. It's going to ask you for what events do you want to see, or what conversions do you want to see, and it's going to show you the same metrics. So, time on page, things like that, but all related to those events. That will change reporting, just because it was limited prior to the rollout of GA4, where they didn't have a lot of ways to do what Katie's example was. The person who looks at the ad during, the commute and then comes back and uses the, computer at home maybe had also checked at work. So 3 different devices might have resulted in 3 different visits, 3 different user sessions. But now we're going to go to the full cross-device, cross-platform way of reporting, and they'll be able to say, hey, that was the same person. We know that from the logins. We know that from the way that we're tracking. And it's going to be a much more complete and full understanding of how people are using what we're doing in marketing to complete that whole journey. And then finally, automation. So everybody loves automation. It was very limited in UA4. There's not a lot that you can do. It wasn't entirely absent, but it was hard to connect. Where in GA4, they're using the machine learning to simplify the insights that they can discover through, data modeling and predictive audiences, things like that.
Now we're ready for
the deep dive. So let's go in and be a little more granular now. And we're going to say what's changing, what's going away. So views no longer in GA4. What you get is data filters on reports. So what people liked most about views was you could set up something like a view that had your raw data, like unfiltered data, and then you could have separate views for maybe, your team to filter out your staff. So getting rid of the IPs in the office. So that takes those guys out. Then might also include taking out your marketing team, their IPs, taking out your developing team. Those guys are gone. And then you're left with hopefully what is your data that just shows what your marketing performance is. Yeah, a little bit cleaner. But now you can do that same thing in reports, right in the reports, much easier. Session centric, as we mentioned in the previous slide. So no longer are your reports going to be based on sessions. It's event based. That's going to be a big change. Sessions are not going away though. Don't want you to think that, oh, we have no more sessions anymore. Can't report on that. That's not true. They're still there. They're just going to be based on the events first. And then goals, we don't have goals in GA4. We have events and conversions. So there's a lot of standard events that come with GA4. They're pre-set up, but you can also get really nitty gritty. You can set your own events up. So it's going to come with your stock ones, but you're going to add all the ones that are important to you. And then you're going to say, hey, out of these, I don't know, 15, 20 events that I have in here, I want 6 of these to be conversion based because these are my leads. These are what I want to track. So that's going to give us a lot more information. And then custom reports is going to go away. And now we're going to have 2 sections in GA4. We're going to have reports, which is going to give you your unsampled data. It's going to be 100% of the data that you have in there from your traffic. And then explorations, which might include some sample data from those, audiences that they are using behind the scenes.
Yeah. And for those of us who don't have a ton of working knowledge of universal analytics and definitely haven't taken a peek at GA4 yet, the way I think about session versus event fundamentals, which is how they're trying to deviate and show us a bigger picture, is that the sessions show you what caused someone to come to your site the second they click onto the site, and then what happened within the site. And an event model that we're going to be moving towards is going to allow you to connect a lot more dots about what's happening long before they get to your website. And then it's going to provide additional details on where you lose a user in terms of that conversion journey once they get to the site. So there's a lot more complexities. There's a much bigger, more robust storytelling ability here. And I think that that's really the takeaway is, until you're getting into it and you're setting up those goals and taking a look at what kind of journeys you want to track, think about the potential that could be involved in that. Our world is going to change. It's going to open up and become so much bigger. So, we're sad about bounce rate, maybe not so much, but that's for the past. There are so many new, more important nuances coming our way. And that's something that we're getting really excited about.
100%. And also it's going to be more visual. It's going to be a lot better to see. Yes. We'll talk about that more in a minute.
Yeah, we've got some good stuff. Awesome. Yes, so true. All right.
Okay, so what are we excited about? So much.
Many things.
I mean, everything that we just mentioned is exciting. In a nerdy way, maybe just us, but let's take
digital
a peek.
Nerd stuff.
Digital nerd. Let's take a peek at some of the other things that we're excited about. Katie, do you have anything that you're excited about?
I sure do. And this is something that's super simple. This is super approachable. This is for those folks who have very little experience with universal analytics. But I remember when I got my start in the digital world and I didn't know where to find anything in Google Analytics or in universal analytics. And I would go up to that search bar and type in my query and I would get a bunch of not so great results that weren't exactly helpful to me. But with J4, it's a totally different thing. So imagine when you go to your typical Chrome search bar to look for like a pair of shoes or where to eat dinner, how refined and good those search results are. It's going to be a similar experience within the J4 dashboard. So I encourage you guys that if you have a question about, hey, how's my traffic today? Or what's my paid media traffic coming in like, you can actually Google that very sentence and get very well-placed results for you. So that ease of use, that user-friendly vibe, that's something that is very nice with a lot of changes. Change is hard. So start there if you don't know where else to start.
Change is hard, but having help along the way is good.
Yes.
I also like you can find everything from, reports to, you can ask it, what does page load speed mean? Because you're looking at it in a report and you're like, well, I don't know what that means. Yes. And it'll come up with help topics as well.
You could even Google like, why doesn't bounce rate matter anymore? All right. So we've got some more things we're super excited about.
Ooh.
Right,
yep, that's it. This is the part that I'm really jazzed about because I'm a visual learner. So going into reports in Google Analytics, for those of you who use it a lot, you probably kind of hate the way it looks in there.
Yeah.
But they're going to have better visuals with GA4, and that makes things so much easier, especially as somebody who works in there a lot. So it's meant to be more digestible. It's meant to help you see things a lot quicker. Like you can identify trends, you can identify those dips, and then you're like, oh God, look at that thing that fell. I have to go figure out what happened there. You can diagnose issues. And they say that there's going to be at least 2 of those visual elements for each section above the data tables. And sometimes there might just be visuals.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm all about that.
Yeah.
So as you can see, it looks really pretty.
Yes, it does. And can you customize this at all?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
You can go in there and even add things to it. So there's always a section where you can go in there and add new things to it. So
Amazing.
yeah,
Okay.
very cool.
Cool. All right. What else? What else
What
should we
else
get
are we
jazzed about?
excited about? Well, with the better visuals comes better reporting and better campaign data. So we're going to be able to track, like Katie mentioned, the attribution journey a little bit more. We're going to be able to see where Megan's ads help my organic campaign, and maybe where my campaign actually helps out the ads. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we hope so.
Everything helps
Everything loves each other.
Yes.
Yeah. We're going to be able to track conversions better. So we'll know, even though the organic session happened after the paid ad was seen, it'll give us like a percentage of, it helped out this much, or we'll know how many times, how many visits that ad led people to get to the organic side. It'll add in some modeled conversions along the way, and that will give us a more accurate report telling us a complete story, because we will be missing the data from the people who opt out of the privacy. So at least that's not going away. I know it's also going to be included where it can't. Google said that if it doesn't have a high reliability rate on that information, it won't include it, but it'll put it in direct. So that way we'll be able to look in direct and still see things, which means we might see an increase in direct visits and direct traffic. I did ask Google if that's going to, if we can do any analysis in there, like dial down and figure out where it came from, and we'll see what happens.
So their answer was they didn't know.
I didn't quite answer that question, but we'll see. We'll see what we can do
though.
when we get in there. Yeah, for
great
sure.
question.
And then it'll help us improve what we're doing here, marketing wise, so we can make our campaigns better. We can make automated bidding better, and it all works as a nice cohesive machine.
Love that. Okay. I think we've got one other thing that we wanted to touch on. Oh yeah.
Yes.
This is
All right.
exciting.
And this might just be me, but I'm really excited about Google Optimize. So it's obviously existed before. Some of you who are like, oh, that's been around, Tammy, that's not new. But actually they've integrated it with GA4. And so we can use all of those new modeling experiences. We can use the new data. We can combine it with the tests that we're running to get an even better picture of how an A/B test might be performing, which might lead to better conversions, which is always what you hope for in an A/B test. But what we'll be able to do too is possibly do Google Ads targeting, because up until now, it's been only available to the 360 users, and that's the paid platform on analytics. And it costs a lot, so there's not a ton of people that use that, huge businesses. But
yeah, I don't think I've worked with anybody who's had access to that, so that's going to be exciting.
That is exciting. So now it's available to us on the free platform, and so we can see what that means.
Wow.
Tests ahead.
Yeah,
someday.
exactly.
Let's see what we can do with this.
Have you ever worked with anybody using that?
Nope, never.
Wow. Okay, well, we'll all be spring chickens together.
Yes, we will.
All right.
Oh, did you even mention we are the Digible chicks for this whole thing?
Yeah, we're the Digible GA4 chicks, in case you were wondering about the theme of the presentation. So you can't hear anybody laughing at my jokes.
I laugh.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. Yeah, hopefully they are. All right.
All right. So one thing to keep in mind, and if there's nothing else that you guys take away from this presentation, we want you to know that you should set GA4 up as soon as possible. Super important. You can set it up along with your universal analytics. They can both run together at the same time. And it's important because you need data in order to make Google Analytics super helpful. The more data, the better. I love more data all the time.
Data.
And then as universal analytics sunsets down, GA4 is going to continue. So at least we're going to have that continue. We'll have all the back data and it'll travel with us.
Yeah, and an important timeline to know for that, guys, is that with the July 1st sunset, we are encouraging everyone at that time to download all of their historical reporting. But we were told by Google earlier this month that there is an undetermined amount of time, likely 3 to 6 months, that if you have that you will still be able to access your UA dashboard as it stands today, as long as you have all of those properties set up and initialized and have like your goals tracking. So that will continue to aggregate data for you, but you won't be able to make any additional changes to it after the July 1st. So they are going to give you just a tiny bit of time to, for the people who need that last push to get out of there. But we don't know exactly when that's going to end. So I wouldn't count on it. So yeah, just some food for thought there.
Awesome.
All right.
And then with that, having GA4 on earlier, you'll be able to build historical data, capture more of the trends that you see, like starting now. If you have it going, it's going to be able to capture in arrears, and you can take advantage of all the new things that they have in there right now, plus all the new things that they add, because we all know Google will continue to add more things to this.
And that is actually verified by some of the calls that we had this year, and recently, that more changes are coming. One of the things that might be in your mind is, well, when is Digible going to show us the J4 tracking in our reports? And the answer to that question is as soon as Google provides an API for agencies. And if your next question is, okay, what's the timeline for that? That was also our question for Google that they could not answer. So we will be staying on top of that, keeping you guys in the know. But at this point, it is another undetermined amount of time.
But it's on our radar.
It is. It's on our radar. We got that covered, so you don't have to worry about it. But yeah. Okay. Well, that was our final stuff that we're excited about. I see that we have a lot of questions in the chat.
Oh boy.
So I wanted to say thank you guys for listening to this like very technically heavy new thing that's coming out. But we hope that at this point you feel a little bit more comfortable about, whether or not this is achievable for everyone, no matter what your experience level is. And
yeah, don't be afraid. I think we were all a little bit nervous.
I
but
was super nervous.
got certified. I got certified.
We got certified.
Megan's getting certified. It's not as bad as it sounds.
Our whole company will be certified by the end of the year. So we will, you'll have experts at your back. So okay, so I want to open this up for some questions. Let me just pull up the chat and take a quick peek at the questions. Thank you, Sean, for laughing at my jokes. Big shout out to you. Okay, let me just scroll. Wow, there's a lot. This is the previous chat. Okay, bear with me.
It's like, well, I don't know the answer to that question.
This was not something I practiced before we got started. So, yes, David, real humans do work at Google. And it's very difficult to get one on the phone, much less Zoom, so that you can see their face in real time. But I did. And multiple times, the same people over and over again, not different folks. So we felt, and that's all Megan's magic.
Yes.
That's not for me or Tammy. That's Megan's got the connections. Okay. Lots of conversations about robots dressed as humans. Yes, we did think about that.
If we're going to dress up like chicks, you guys are like chicken chicks, you're lucky. We couldn't do that.
There's some great jokes in here about making up for a lack of signals and casual dating. So, nice. Okay. So one of the questions from Sean, when does Digible plan on switching fully to J4? So yeah, just to kind of reiterate what we said before, we have been encouraging our clients to initialize J4 and get that set up and running as soon as possible. So we've been, that's been our recommendation for most of the year. But if you haven't yet, that's okay. And if you have any questions about how to do that, reach out to your account managers or reach out to me. I'm more than happy to provide you with, walkthrough videos or even like help you do that via Zoom.
Yeah, GA had some pretty helpful tutorials that we used when we looked into a couple of our clients.
Yeah. Okay. And Allie laughed at my jokes. That's great.
Thanks,
yes. Ooh, and I like this survey question from David. If we were allowed to rename J4, what would it be?
Oh, geez.
Ooh. Nobody answered that question. Oh, I'm so shocked. Megan, what do you think?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm putting you on the spot now.
Like the next Google, the next generation.
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh, Kim's got a great question. Thank you, Kim. Will the removal of universal analytics goals affect how we import them to Google Ads, or will events and conversions just replace goals?
Events and conversions will replace goals. We'll be able to import those to Google Ads as well. So they're named differently, but we'll more or less be able to get the same information.
Okay.
Just takes a bit of work.
Yes, we have to import
roll
from
up your sleeves.
Universal Analytics to GA4 and then back to Google Ads. So it's a roundabout process to get there, but we're still able to get that measurement.
And kind of what we've been trying to visualize what this process is going to look like for us on our end in terms of, how we're going to pull in the data from your paid campaigns. And it's going to be fairly manual. Google doesn't have a agency solution for that. So it is one by one, property by property, and goal by goal.
They seemed a little surprised when we asked that question.
I
It's like,
know.
really?
They're like, well, we could ask some people that we know here. So that was the support that we received. But we still got a ton of valuable information, and we're more than happy to answer questions from anybody that has them. I anticipate that what you've learned here today, hopefully some of it was new, but that more and more will come available, especially over the next 6 months, I think is going to be that crunch time. I don't think we're going to see too many changes in the months as we get closer to July 1st. So you do not have the whole month of July. We have the whole month of June. So that's just an important thing to remember too. But if we don't have any other questions, David, great one. When J4 was announced, they said that we could more easily push data into J4. Do you all have an update on that? For example, I'd love you to push the pricing of a unit that an event triggered for.
So yeah, they have, you can upload information to BigQuery and use that as a database like storehouse for your information. You would give all of the Digible users like a user ID, and you could feed that in, and that would take some of that technical coding that our engineering team might be really, really good at or something. But yeah, you can definitely upload that information to BigQuery and use it.
What is BigQuery, Tammy? Tell us if you know. Oh, is that the wrong question?
No, I don't know more than it's a big warehouse database
cloud
storage thing that Google's using, and it's huge.
Okay.
How's that for an answer?
Do you think it's free, or it's a paid service?
I believe it's free.
Okay.
I don't know if it's free. Like if you use a ton of it, you might have to start paying, but I know that you can initially start is free.
Okay.
To start.
All right, great. Hopefully we answered your question, David. You're welcome.
Anyone else have any questions?
Anything else?
I'm curious if anyone out there is actually using GA4 either solely, like they don't have UA going, and if so, I guess if you aren't using UA, you can't say whether or not you like it or not. But I was going to say, do you like it? You probably do.
So we've got a solid no from Kim. Sean, you like it?
Awesome.
Okay, that's
yes,
great.
I like it too.
All right.
I'm afraid. That's a good one. Yes.
Well, yes. I don't think you're alone there, Kim. I think that's also the standpoint of a lot of us here. Change is always scary. But as long as we remember that a lot of these concepts are similar, if not exactly the same as the ones in Universal Analytics, it's just the conversion tracking that's going to change. So, well, it's not only that, but you could at least silo it a little bit like that in your mind to help. But okay. Well, I don't see any more questions coming through. Anything else, ladies? All right. Well, this is your Digi J4 chicks signing off.